Excellent. Good morning, everybody. This is Robin Burrow and team from Omnikron, and this is our monthly webinar for free PDUs and free SEUs for those who are Scrum Masters, and for anybody else that loves learning, loves technology. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of who everybody is, and you can wave, and then I'm going to give some ground rules for what to expect today. Then we'll give it over to Brad, and then we'll give it over to our speakers. So I'm Robin, and as you can see, we have Heather King, who is our training director, who many of you know and love. And we have Brad, our sales director, who many of you know and love. And then we have Benji and Emily from Sozango. Those are our illustrious speakers today, USC grads, going to teach us all about bots. And we're very, very excited how bots are not coming to take your job. They're coming to help you increase productivity. As you get comfortable with the screen, please nudge to the bottom, and you'll see chat and Q&A. And I chatted Cupid Bot to everybody in the link, so you can play with Cupid Bot. If you haven't made decisions yet for what you're going to do for Valentine's Day, Cupid Bot is here to help you. And Benji and Emily made that for us. Pretty good example of things that they can do. We're thinking of doing a Shamrock bot next, so that's kind of exciting. And for everybody, this is being recorded. We will produce the recording for you, and also everybody, you will get 2 PDUs if you respond to the survey, or 2 SEUs. So I know that you're collecting PDUs and SEUs, so here you go. Brad, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. I'm going to get right into this and share some news you can use really quick, and then I'll hand it back over to Emily and Benji so they can get going. So for starters, in the news you can use, we have some breaking news that I'm going to get to as well. But first off, as always, we like to congratulate the winner of our drawing. For those of you who might be new, at the end of the webinar, we will draw a winner, and that winner will receive a gift card from some sort from Omnikron. One of the things that if you didn't when you registered, if you didn't put your cell number in there, you might want to put that in the Q&A so we can attach your cell number, to your name. So that way, potentially you can win. Everyone wins every week. So it's really exciting. We just like to share some goodness. We also like to share a quote from a participant from the last webinar, and we share the quote because it's not so much to impress you, but more so to impress upon you. Stick around, stay the full 60 minutes, learn some new nuggets that you might not have known prior to waking up this morning. Okay, so, and then the last thing I want to touch on, which is our breaking news, which is really exciting. We've never done this. And wait. But we just launched a new program. It's a 190. This program is, you can pretty much call it an all access. It's really exciting, elevates your team. For those of you who, I can probably also call this the no training budget program, for if you're a part of an organization or a company who always says, oh, we don't have training budget. Well, this will suit your needs. If you have a ton of high potential learners, well, they're going to be really excited. And kind of just give you an example, this program comes with 16 accredited certification courses and professional skills courses, but I'm just going to share 5 with you right now, so you'll probably be super excited. You want to get this information to maybe your decision makers within your organization. But think about this: DevOps, Scrum, Certified Agile Service Manager, Security, IDLE, and many, many more. There's 16 of them, so it's just really exciting what we're offering. And the last thing, I know Robin has graciously made specialized calculators for any company that's interested in the program. So if you want that special calculator and you want to see the savings that you can make or potentially help your company save, ping us. We'd be more than happy to give you that special calculator for your company. So with that, man, I just talked really fast, but I didn't want to take any thunder away from Emily and Benji. So with that, I'm going to hand the torch. Emily called it the Olympic torch this morning. So I'm going to hand the torch back over to Emily. Emily, I'm going to take some copious notes and enjoy your presentation.
Hi, thank you, Brad. So, hello, everybody. We're Sozango Solutions, and I'm Emily, and this is Benji, and let's start chatting bots. So, there has been a lot of hype about chatbots. There's been a lot of noise, and we're here to cut through that noise today. So, in our talk, we'll go over many things. We'll go over, first off, what even is a chatbot, how they can be useful, and where the industry is headed. So, at Sozango, we build chatbots for intelligence augmentation, not replacing your intelligence. So our mission is for you to spend less time on things a robot can do and more time on the specialized, complicated, and more satisfying parts of your job, which pretty much makes everybody really happy and makes chatbots a chatbot for good. So to start off, what is a chatbot? Chatbots have a lot of names. You may have heard digital assistant, you may have heard conversational commerce, and there's a number of others on the slide. But at the core, all of these systems use conversation as the medium to solve problems and to interact with their users. So moving on to why is conversation such a successful interface for getting things done? And it's just like sometimes you just want to talk, pick up the phone, you just want to talk to someone to get something done. It's the same thing with having a conversation with a computer. Sometimes it just makes sense to have that conversation. And it can be more productive and more efficient than using drop-down menus and switching screens multiple times. And chatbots increase productivity because of three reasons we've found. For one, they are dynamic. They can handle multiple tasks with just a single command. And they are also personalized. Everybody likes to feel special. And chatbots can use artificial intelligence to not only remember you for the next interaction, but use that information when they speak to you again. And last off, they are autonomous. We've heard a lot about autonomous cars, but in a similar fashion, you don't have to micromanage a chatbot. And when things get too complicated or they don't know what to do next, they can very easily trigger a human operator and pass on that more complicated, more satisfying task. And one of the bigger parts of chatbots to note is that they live on channels that you, your employees, and your customers are already using. Some examples of this include, going to a website, they can use Skype, they can use Cisco Spark, and among others that are pictured here on the slide. And given that you don't need to build any interfaces, chatbots can be built and deployed in a fraction of the time with a fraction of the cost. Plus, they don't get bored. So in the spirit of Valentine's Day, we thought we would spread the love and showcase some of our nonprofit collaborations that we're really proud of and really excited about. To start off with, we built a multilingual survey bot that was sent to low literacy farm workers using Cortana or Microsoft software. We've also done a survey bot to help an entrepreneurial education program clean up its alumni database using SMS. And we've also made a Facebook Song of the Day broadcast bot, which was utilized to raise awareness for tech internships for multiple different students. And currently, we're really excited about this. We're in the process of building with a high school class an FAQ bot that can live on their school admissions website. And I'm gonna let Benji talk about enterprise.
Thank you, Emily. So when we think about enterprise and we think about what moves enterprise forward, it's really all about productivity. And we think that chatbots can play a huge role in advancing productivity, especially when we think about how information can be better found, utilized, and distributed. So chatbots are great in a scenario where you need to streamline the interaction with multiple database systems where your information is spread all over the place, and you're facing often many different screens and many different interfaces to try to get to where you want to go. So we are going to switch at this point to some fun demos to show you some use cases of how chatbots could work in enterprise. So I'm going to switch the screen up. First off, we are going to talk about training. And let's imagine for a second that you've purchased some phenomenal training from a company, I'm going to guess Omnikron maybe. And
an amazing company like like out of this world company. Yes, it's a great imagination.
And so in this scenario, your team is now retooled, re-equipped with a bunch of new skills, and perhaps they're coders, they've absorbed a new language, and in the moment they want to go back and refresh on a particular skill set or a particular topic that they are struggling with at that moment. And so rather than sort of look through documents or videos, someone could simply chat with the training chatbot. So I'm going to pull up our fun demo here. And I need to handle my technical setup here for a second so I can start the video at the beginning.
All right.
Okay.
Demos are always fun.
Fun demos. Oh. Still. All right. Maybe we will restart this video. Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Excellent.
So in this scenario, you could pull up on a web interface, perhaps, a request to the training bot to search for you the skill set that you're looking for. It could then grab existing content, videos that would explain the topic area that you might be looking for. What's exciting about chatbots and new is the ability to kind of then dig deeper and set your own journey for that training. So in this case, say, I wanted a little more detail on that particular piece of information. It allows me to search, to dig in deeper and find cool interfaces like drop-downs. You can include surveys in there, quizzes, other sort of feedback mechanisms that are more than just sentences. And I think that's sort of something that's been new and exciting about the chatbot space is the different ways that we could be using this chat interface to get information conveyed. So we're going to move to our second demo. So project management, I know a topic near and dear to many of your hearts and mine as well. We think in a project management context, chatbots can play a great role in providing automation and streamlining to a lot of the processes that we have to do by rote currently. And in this scenario, we thought about it. A common task that project managers often face is having to check on the work that's been delegated out and get those status updates. And we know that currently, a lot of times that could include checking your spreadsheet, checking on the task, figuring out who the owner is, then taking that information, writing that email, writing that follow-up email, sort of pestering the delegated folks to be able to get that critical information about where this project is to know whether you're on track or not on track. And that's a great sort of example of a task that robots could automate and take care of and leave you, the project manager, to be able to work to the top of their ability and be able to manage the fires and not manage sort of the database updating. And so we are going to demonstrate for you guys one way a project management bot could work. So here we have the sort of classic spreadsheet of tasks. We're going to focus on, in this case, on John. Let me pause for a second before we jump ahead. So if we focus on John here, John's got a design mock-up that's due on the 14th, which for him, luckily, is Valentine's Day. And it does not appear that he has gotten started, and he's not on track to finish as expected. So our project manager in this case could hop over to Slack, a great channel for chatbots, and be able to, rather than spend time emailing everyone, being able to quickly talk to the bot. We're calling it Project Management Bot, and have Project Management Bot take care of the status update for them. So in this case, they've given command to the bot. We could then switch over, and the bot would then message each teammate individually. Excuse me. Be able to ask the critical questions in a very sort of simple, easy way for that person to reply, so that the team is not wasting time tracking their status as well. There's always room for context that may not be available in a more structured form dynamic. And that all that new data can then get fed back into the spreadsheet, and it turns out John was actually on top of it, got it done, and our project manager is now better equipped to spend time focused on moving on to the next task rather than worrying about things that are already completed.
I'm sold. I'm already thinking what I want to name PM Bot.
I agree, PM Bot it was not the optimal name.
That's okay.
As Emily is our chief creative officer, and I did not consult her on the name of that bot.
No. The most creative, but very, very efficient.
Very efficient.
Are there questions that we should jump on at this point, or should we?
No, I'll interrupt you. I think everybody is enamored and probably already thinking of tasks for PM Bot. So right. That was a really nice one. The learning one was great also. I really love that example.
Perfect. Please, folks in the audience, if you have, as we're going through this and sparking your interest, if you have challenges that you're facing and you're wondering how a bot might be helpful, Emily and I, given that this is such a new space, have perfected the art of finding solutions that sort of out-of-the-box solutions that chatbots might be able to fit into. I'm more than happy to brainstorm and provide some extra input for you.
Yeah.
So our last demo that we wanted to share is a product testing bot. And the intent here is both to feature sort of how it can fit into a product testing environment, but also to talk about how it could fit into sort of live documentation. We know that keeping standard processes and documents up to date is a burden that nobody loves. And so,
but a robot might.
But a robot certainly might like keeping that up to date. And sort of stopping what you're doing and having to go back and write out what you're doing is not necessarily moving you forward, right? That's time not being productive in that sense. So we thought about how we could look at that process in the context of product testing, particularly because product testing can have very intense documentation. So here's just sort of a quick example that we grabbed off the internet of a standard software product test. And we're looking at very detailed, long number of steps. This is, a good 40-page document that's dense. And so how could we make something like this feel more accessible and less onerous?
Yeah, and to go beyond just the Control F, right? It's beyond just looking for keywords, it's looking for coherent thought and how to work through that.
Sure. So I will pull up our demo and in this scenario, we're using Skype. Skype for Business or Skype is a great place for bots. So in this case, we're going to invite the tester would sort of ask the bot that initiate with the bot and let the bot know that they're ready to begin step 1. In this case, it would be step 7.1.1. And the bot can double check and see, are you really ready? Because here we go. So in this scenario, right, you've been provided your first step, enter your first name and leave your last name blank. Is the expected outcome as expected? And in this case, yes. So that's great. So then you get to move on to step 2. So in step 2, you want to enter your first name and leave your middle name blank. And in this case, this is where we start to think this gets exciting, because there's a chance for a feedback loop where you could say, you know what, your instructions are missing something. And I have an edit to your instructions. And these instructions could then be submitted for review by the development team. The development team could be monitoring this live, see the status of their test as it's going, rather than waiting till the end. And they can make adjustments halfway through. So in this case, once the edit was to the documentation had been accepted, it could then get rebroadcast back out to all the test users, letting them know that maybe they haven't made it to this step yet, and when they do, there's been a change. Or if they need to go back and rechange one of the tests they ran, they could do that as well. And I think this feature of being able to broadcast and push messages out is definitely critical to thinking about how you can best use your chatbots. Once you're no longer constrained by your user initiating the conversation, those options really kind of open up. So definitely leverage your ability to push messages and reach people on the channels that they are. So this was our third use case of using it to document, to keep documents alive and keep folks focused on their task and not on writing documentation.
That was awesome, you guys. I do have a couple questions for you, and I know more people are thinking as you show more possibilities. So let me ask Tom's question.
Great.
Tom says, I'm not familiar with how to set up a bot. And let me move over my screen here. Does it exist in the technology, or do you have to build them?
I'm not clear on what Tom means by does it exist in the technology. I think sort of it may be a question of where's the level of commercialization of chatbots and what kind of development is required.
Actually,
is that
I think we could go with how do you set up a bot, because it's actually a separate piece of code and technology that you guys use, that it seems like it works well with just about anything. But do you want to spend a minute on how to set up a bot? I know you guys have a workflow for that.
We do. We will sort of come back to at the end how you design the conversation around that you want the bot and the tasks of the bot. But we'll talk for a moment about the specific technical development parts. And I think that what's exciting about chatbots is where we are in the product development cycle, that there are a number of tools and platforms that have been created and are commercially viable and ready for really interesting applications. So you're no longer just building from scratch the way you were even as soon as a year ago.
Yeah.
It's for us, it's been pretty exciting going from building from scratch to now building on platforms. We particularly like Microsoft's bot framework. They, I think, are providing a lot of feature sets that are unique in the space. Or if you need something much simpler, there's a great platform called FlowXO. It's sort of a drag and drop if you need a quick, simple 7-question bot, say. That can, or you want to prototype something and not have to write any code. That can be great. In an enterprise environment, if you're dealing with secure data, you're dealing with sensitive information, in those scenarios, you could self-host it. You could, there are other software options that will allow you to build it more in-house, but without having to reinvent the wheel. So I think this is accessible on multiple levels.
Excellent. And I know we'll get into the workflow because that's such an important piece of it. Brad asked, Brad Sutton, different Brad, how about bots that can be used for sales prospecting?
Sure.
What would be some ideas?
Yeah, no, sure. We've done a lot of sales use cases. A lot of times what the process we've created is letting that sort of customer service experience, having that concierge experience be scalable. And a lot of e-commerce, we've done recommendation for e-commerce mostly. So you can, have a little survey and be able to use that information to actually recommend certain products, as well as sort of on the backside, there are a lot of FAQ sort of customer service and management options that we have done that you can sort of pre-think the types of questions that users may be asking or might not understand how to use that product, and you can use chatbots in that setting to actually support users as they use your product, as well as getting users to make that initial purchase. Because as we know, the sales cycle is not necessarily one and done. It's a continuous process. And sort of the last example I would say is there's a period when you're trying to onboard new customers that you've gotten them to your web page, you've gotten them to your Facebook page, and you have a call to action, and they don't necessarily want to make that call to action. This is more applicable in more smaller companies, but also could be applicable in more enterprise settings as well. We can sort of fill that gap that they can interact with you. They can ask some questions. They can start that sales process, but they're not making the full leap to actually contact the company directly. So those are sort of the 3 sales options that we provide and have provided thus far. Hopefully that answers Brad's question.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. And thanks for the questions. And please keep sending them in as we go through. We'll get to them at the appropriate time.
Okay.
Keep going, guys. You're on a roll.
Great.
All right. So we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk and build off some of the last questions and answer this question of where is the chatbot industry? There is a lot of hype. There's a lot of sort of misinformation and dire warnings as well as over-glorification out there. So we thought it might be helpful for everyone for us to sort of share where we think this industry is. Obviously, we are all in a webinar talking about this topic. We have not crossed the chasm yet. So using the analogy of crossing the chasm of product development that I imagine most of you are familiar with. I would say that we are, as I mentioned, past the stage of folks hacking solutions and building fun hobby ideas. And really in this visionary stage, congratulations, everyone who signed up for the webinar, you are all visionaries. And I think that we're going to start to see as the use cases increase that we'll start to cross that chasm potentially in the next year or two. I think another way that we've chosen to analyze the industry is to look at the recent acquisitions of companies in the chatbot space. And the significant ones were the purchase of API.ai by Google, Wit.ai by Facebook, and recently Recast by SAP. And what was the common denominator among many of these purchases were that they were the natural language processing platforms that really underlie a lot of the technology and make this technology commercializable and accessible to folks who don't have a PhD in computer science and aren't equipped to write their own language algorithms to understand it. And so this technology is making it incredibly easy for folks like us and folks like you to consider building a really kind of smart chatbot that's able to handle most of a user's requests and decipher that into actionable tasks. Because the algorithm you're building off of all of the data that Google and Facebook and SAP has collected, so that it's your data set is not just your 1,000 users or in some cases 100 users, right? Your data set is the full extent of anybody who's ever talked to Google. So that's pretty exciting for us. That said, this is still very much the underlying platforms. These are not the actual applications that users and companies are looking for to actually create productivity. And I think that's the next step that we're going to start to see is a shift towards focusing on companies that are finding really clever ways to use chatbots that make people's lives easier. And that's where I think the next round of acquisitions and that next industry focus is really going to be. So we're gonna now talk about how do you make.
I do have a
yes.
bunch of questions.
Okay.
So okay, yeah. All right. I got a lot of dialogue. You guys chime on the chat. So Lily is giving us a bunch of ideas, and she says that she thinks help desk FAQs would be a great value, but some people won't use it because they'll think that they're connected to a real person, and some people might be put off if they expected to connect to a real person, and then you find out it's a bot. So would it be good to socialize that it's not a real person to start with, so that people know it is an automated FAQ feature? And number two, hold that question. The second question is it capable to transfer the chat session to a live person? See, she's already solutioning her way through this. When the FAQ does not suffice. That's two questions from Lily. What are your thoughts, guys?
Sure. So Lily, there's a lot of debate within the chatbot space about whether or not to come clean. We're on the come clean side. We think people are better off knowing it's a robot. We've also found that people lower their expectations when it's a robot. And if they think it's a human and it's not performing, they get very, very frustrated because they think it's just a person who's not doing their job effectively. But if it's a robot, it's cool and they're doing their best. So yes, we think it's best to come forward. But sort of linking the first and the second question, absolutely, chatbots can transfer to a live operator. We find that there's never going to be, or at least not at this point, an all-inclusive solution that will encompass all questions that customers may have. People think of things you would never imagine, and I think building bots has even strengthened my resolve in this, that people will ask questions you've never even dreamed about. So having that push to a human operator is super important. And also, this is the other part about chatbots, is it can learn from that, right? So if it can see which question it doesn't know, it can understand the answer, maybe next time it won't push. Because the whole idea of our FAQ solutions is that customer service agent is only spending time on the really, really complicated really robust problems, and not the necessarily, I don't know which button to click, where's my package, stuff like that. I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, I think you covered it.
Cool.
No, that's good. Thank you. Excellent. And I have another question actually from our Brad M, which is, are there platform limitations that bots can run or not run on? For example, we have a lot of customers who use ServiceNow, which is a ticketing system. Of course, there are websites and other social platforms. So have you guys run into anything where it's just like, no, sorry, a bot's not going to work with that?
We have. I'm going to jump back to an earlier slide to answer that question. So this is pretty much the current state of the universe of where a chatbot can live in a messaging channel. I would say that said, that being where the user and the bot are going to meet and be able to talk to each other. And included in this would be a website, right? That's also okay. Where I think there's unlimited is the types of integrations. So an integration into any service desk seems, I don't think we've found any that have been difficult in that sense. So a ticketing system, being able to pass from the bot to the ticketing system and back and forth is certainly not a challenge. Yeah, I would say in terms of channels, what's missing here that we get a lot is WhatsApp, which is very popular in certain circles and very closed. And Instagram is also popular.
Yeah, and Snapchat, which is becoming less relevant, but is also quite a closed system.
Okay, that's good to know. And then I got a great question here from Deborah. Can chatbots support multiple languages? And if so, how would that work? Would you select your language first prior to starting your chat?
Sure. So yes, we've had real great success with multilingual chatbots. It's more languages, more complication. So go into it knowing it's about twice as hard. It takes twice as long. But the payoff is tremendous. And being able to not only meet people on the channel, but in the language that they prefer is tremendous. I would say there was a second part to the question.
Also, you can use emojis. So even we've worked in some low literacy populations for some of our pro bono work. So being able to use chatbots can use multiple types of media. So you can send pictures, you can send emojis, you can send video clips. Like there's a lot of different media channels that you can reach people at, and even voice, using Cortana or Google Assistant. So there's a lot of different ways, not only sort of written language, multilingual, you can be multilingual on a broader sense as well by incorporating different types of media to convey the points you want to get across.
Excellent. That's excellent. Okay, I want to keep pace here because I know you have more to do and I have more questions coming in. Let me ask another question from Jared. Thanks, guys, for the questions. Keep them coming because if we run out of time, we'll just send them answers back to you after today. For an organization that's interested in experimenting with chatbots but have limited budget, which platforms would you recommend they look at?
Platforms in terms of building a bot or platforms in terms of deploying a bot? I'm going to answer the second one first. I would say the beauty of a chatbot is you can build it once and deploy it across all of the channels that you want. Unlike the analogy to an app on your phone where you have to build one for iOS and one for Android, and you have to maintain both of them and keep up with specs. Chatbots are generally build once and you're good to go. So the maintenance cost on that's a lot lower, and being able to reach folks wherever they are. So I would say start there. I think if you're new and want to just sort of play with chatbots and test out ideas, I would start almost with Facebook Messenger. At the ecosystem around that platform is the greatest, and the number of sort of off-the-shelf drag-and-drop type chatbot platforms are numerous. Chatfuel is a good one. Again, FlowXO we're partial to. And that can allow you to also sidestep some of the more complicated challenges when you move on to coding yourself. But I think when you're sort of pricing and thinking about chatbots, the price point tends to be lower than the alternatives.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily have costs constrain your imagination as you're getting started.
Yeah, and anyone can reach out to us even during this webinar or after. We'll put up our email. We love talking about this. We love trying to think of solutions when you have sort of resource gaps or people gaps. We love talking about that. So you can ask us now or you can email us later. We'd love to chat with you.
Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep moving along because I don't want you guys to run out of time. You guys love the questions, and then Lily, you have a whole bunch of you have a bunch of questions about your comments. So Lily, pay attention to the chat there. All right, keep going, guys.
Okay. So what are chatbots not good at? And when we're thinking about how you're going to design your chatbots, we started with where are chatbots generally failing? And they're not great at acting by themselves, right? They need a social dynamic. They need two people. So you need having traffic or having users on hand it generally makes for a better experience. They're not great at being creative. They're not great at handling expectations. They're not really good at human-y kind of things. They are just robots. So we start from that perspective. Then thinking about what makes chatbots loved. And we've identified 3 characteristics that make for a great chatbot. They are personality, value, and being human-centered. And personality because everyone likes to be entertained. And choosing witty language that is casual and engaging generally makes this a more enjoyable experience than not. So definitely go a little more funky, and it comes through in the language. Value, we saw sort of in the early days of chatbots, a lot of chatbots that really didn't move anybody's lives forward. That were just sort of entertaining sideshows. And so thinking really critically about what are the strategic objectives that you want to accomplish with this chatbot and making sure that every single question and comment and statement that the bot is making is driving you towards your objective. And lastly, it's being human-centered. And that's thinking about your user's time is absolutely precious. How can you make sure that every question is capturing as much data as possible so that you're asking a large enough question that you can gather multiple data points with that single question and move your user through a process much faster than if you have a form and you wanted to ask 5 questions. Rather than asking all 5 questions, think about how you can compress that down to maybe 3 so that you can your user doesn't get stuck. And so along those lines, we wanted to sort of share where Sozango fits. We fit in between the technical expertise and the user experience that makes for really engaging content when thinking about chatbots. And that this, so far as we looked at the landscape of chatbots, there was sort of a gap. You had really, really smart people building really technically advanced things, and you had humans looking for really engaging content. And so that's where we positioned ourselves. And we begin, when we start talking with companies, we begin with 3 questions to help them think about how they could best utilize a chatbot in their context. And these 3 questions begin with, what do you have? What do you want? And then what do you need? And we can use your answers to complete the sentence. Let's augment what you have with automated what you need to enable what you want. And we have some quick examples of what this might look like. So say let's augment your customer data with automated engagement to enable higher conversion in the sales content. Or let's augment your top tier project managers with automated status updates to enable faster product development. And once you have that sort of very clear objective, that narrow focus for that chatbot, then designing the rest of that conversation tree and the logic that's going to underpin it really becomes much simpler. So I would encourage you to spend some time thinking through on the front end some of this strategic objectives rather than jumping in and getting lost in some of the technical challenges.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. Do you have time for a question?
We do. This is
this is actually a great time. Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to interrupt your thought stream here. So Jared asks, do you have? And I have another question above that. Can you tell us? Is it Chatflow, Xflow? We weren't really sure what you said.
It is.
They do have a problem of all sounding like the same solution.
There's one company called Chatfuel. They are exclusive.
So Chatfuel.
Chatfuel, and that would be a platform that builds only Facebook Messenger chatbots. They do it very well. If you're looking for that, I would look at FlowXO is an alternative, and they're, in terms of complexity, a little greater complexity, but more options in what types of channels that you could reach people on.
And Benji, did you say slow as in SLOW and then XO?
Yeah.
Correct. Frank, lizard, octopus,
Walrus.
Oh, flow, XO. Got it. Yeah, I was like, no, it can't be slow. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of these systems have different terms.
Right.
They're very...
So, Emily, I don't mind. Would you mind chatting some of these? Because I think I'm going to get it wrong. So if you want to chat to all below, then we'll all see it, and we'll also have it for the record.
Sure.
And
in
then
the Q&A section?
No, go to the little chat guy that looks like a chat bot question. Hey, I'm talking. Can you see that?
Yes.
Oh, we see it. Oh,
There
look,
we
a
are.
chat window
Okay.
here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know it's difficult when you are presenting, right? So while you are chatting to us, and Emily is real, not a chat bot. I'm just going to come clean about that. I had another question, which is, actually, I think we got, no. We've got to ask the metric question, okay? Jared needs to know this. Do you have some cases or examples of chatbots that improved session duration, lowered bounce rate, or negatively impacted these metrics?
Negatively impacted these metrics.
Yeah, like maybe a good story or a bad story. Like, watch out for this. This was bad. So we had to remove the bot. But let's work with case studies.
Sure.
Let's do, where it improved a session duration and lowered bounce rate. I like that question. Let's answer that one first.
Sure.
Yeah, I think in those cases, it sounds very much sort of an e-commerce scenario where you're looking to engage folks before they bounce off your webpage. And in that scenario, we've seen that having that chat window becomes that small step that can invite you to continue engaging before leaving the website.
Yeah, I would say the only negative thing is if our feeling is that it has to provide value, right? If you're just talking because you want to talk to your customer, it's not really going to provide the results you want. So if you're providing a chat window, have it be able to provide recommendations, to answer questions. We haven't built this, but we've seen sort of chat that doesn't go anywhere and that isn't helpful. So as long as you're contributing value, people are always seeking out ways to find answers before calling you or emailing you or talking to you. So this is just another avenue that people can use, and we found it keeps people engaged for longer. Yeah.
The spaces that we've not succeeded as much is in a pure promotion sense.
Yeah.
That using a chatbot as a promotional tool to get someone to engage with your brand if they're not already engaging doesn't tend to drive additional traffic in that way. It's if you have someone already engaging with your brand and you would like to extend that engagement or deepen that engagement, or invite them to start a conversation so you could reach back out to them at a later point, that's the position where the chatbot kind of sits.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work with social influencers, so people who are famous on Instagram and Facebook, and they already have a lot of fans, and those fans want to get in touch with them. They want to interact with them. So having surveys, having bot experiences has worked really, really well because they're looking for ways to interact with that person, and that person only has so much time to dedicate to each fan. So a type of experience like that, or you have a really popular brand, that's when we've seen it work really well.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's calibrate time. I have 5 minutes, but I have 3 or 4 questions. And we also want to show Cupidbot. So Benji, do you need a few more minutes to continue your presentation?
I'm just going to wrap up in about 30 seconds, and then we could jump back to more questions, because that's certainly the exciting stuff.
Okay.
So,
excellent. So keep the questions coming. Great.
Yeah, we love questions.
We do love questions. We wanted to share where we thought the industry might be going, and sort of briefly, the technology is fast evolving. We've seen huge leaps and bounds in the last year. We're expecting equal growth in the next year. We expect user expectation to start to change as users encounter bots on a more regular basis. They're likely to begin to expect that brands have bots, or that problems could be solved by a chatbot. And lastly, we think that there's, as any new technology goes through phases, the initial phase is taking a new technology and replicating what already exists. So we see chatbots that look like surveys, chatbots that are taking the place of a form. And that's okay. But what's really exciting is when chatbots start to do something new that wasn't possible before. And I think we're starting to see that shift away from replication to new innovation with this medium, and invite everyone to be part of that journey.
And we'll put our emails up so people can.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I've got some more questions.
Great.
But show Cupidbot, and then I'm going to start asking these questions. Okay. So Benji and Emily built Cupidbot for us, and all right. So Tom's got some pretty great questions here. These tools are used to build the chatbots and platforms like Facebook, Messenger, and Slack. Okay, so these tools are used to build the chatbots and platforms like Facebook, Messenger, Slack, or platforms to host them on. Does that make sense? Did I ask it correctly?
I'm not sure I follow the question.
So
okay, we might get back to you. Well, here's another question.
I think that's
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if I understand the question correctly, which I may not, it's when you interact with a bot on Facebook Messenger, for example, the way you would find that bot is like where you would find messages from your other friends. So it's not like an app or an add-on, when you get like a Salesforce app, it's another thing you have to install onto an existing software or solution. It really integrates into the sort of core of whatever platform it is. So on Facebook Messenger, you'd find it in your messages next to one from your friends, for example. I don't know if that answers their question, but it's very seamless, and that's why we talk a lot about self-announcing your bot, because just by talking to it, you wouldn't necessarily know it's a bot or an add-on solution.
Okay, and I'm not sure that we nailed that question correctly, but I do understand a couple of others, and I have a couple more good ones. So Tom, I'm going to take another one of your questions because I think everybody has this. Can I use this tool to build a bot for use on SharePoint without having to be a rocket scientist? So can you build a bot for SharePoint?
We have not built a bot yet for SharePoint. We're happy to investigate that and get back to him. If he wants to leave us an email, we could certainly do that.
Okay. Well, that's a good question. And then we'll get everybody connected. And then Colt asked, what is the best way to sell chatbots to people who are resistant to adoption?
We find the best way to sell a chatbot is actually to build one very quickly and show it. We spent too long trying to describe a chatbot, and that doesn't seem to work. I find having the solution sort of pre-built without necessarily all the fancy backends. You don't have to do the full integration, but you can demonstrate the UX and the simplicity of the interface, and that goes a really long way in getting people excited.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good answer, because I think people tend to have fun with it after they see it. So I do like that. I'm going to ask Tia's question, and then I'm going to let you guys show. Okay. Well, don't go any farther, Cupid bot. Okay. So Tia, because everybody's thinking, you've got everybody thinking creatively, which is wonderful. Tia wants to know, from a recruitment standpoint, or she wants to tell us, we've looked at bots that are all or none. Like they will take over all of our, they'll take over all of our jobs when we only need them to control high mass recruitment efforts.
Yep.
Is there a way where we can control a bot for limited use, like assign to flight attendant work? So
Sure.
I was with you all the way until the flight attendant example, but let's talk about that. All or nothing bots.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think at this stage, all or nothing bots are kind of set up for failure. I would agree with that. I think that this sort of hybrid human robot scenario is really the sweet spot, given where we are. And I think you can do fun things like segment your population, whether that's tracking that individual when they're coming into the conversation. If you know who they are or you know something about them, that would allow the bot to trigger or not trigger in that scenario. Or if you don't know who that person is, which more often than not seems to be the case, if they're coming in, you can ask them right up front, "Hi, I am recruitment bot. I could help you walk through the application or connect you to one of our talent recruiters." And at which point the users begin to self-select and choose the type of interaction that they're looking for.
Yeah, and Benji's just
Excellent.
Chatbots. There's a lot of, I imagine, in recruiting, just more general bots, ones that will read resumes and segment resumes. We're just, in terms of the chatbot experience, I think having that level of users to self-select is good. And also, then you can direct that person to the right person within your organization, right? Like if they're here for technical recruiting help, you don't want to necessarily send them to the writing recruitment. So it can help your organization be able to segment and sort of triage people as they come into your system.
Okay, and that was, you guys, that was very helpful. And then Tia just clarified for us that she hires flight attendants. So that is all coming clear to me now. I get it. So thank you for that, Tia. Guys, I'm going to do one more question because I'm on the hour. And Jared, we'll send you something. And guys, you also sent in your some emails for further discussion. Jared wrote, "This has been very helpful. Thank you. For developer looking to build their first chatbot, where would you suggest they start?"
I would say two spaces. One, I would start playing with API.ai. I think it introduces you to some of the concepts that are common through the chatbot space. I would then shift over and look at the documentation from Microsoft Bot Framework. They've done a really good job giving a lot of different examples, and you can sort of build your way up And you can integrate really easily into Lewis, which is the natural language processing engine of Microsoft. So a lot of possibilities there.
Oh, good answers. All right, guys, let's wrap up with thank you so much, Benji and Emily. We could have, I think, kept you a lot longer. And thanks for coming. Can you, yes, we're going to put the contact information back up.
Okay.
But let's take a look, guys, at, we will take a look at CupidBot. What
Okay.
did we do with CupidBot? Okay, and he's here for you. He's also on our website, or she. But we started with, scroll up a little bit. You can come into CupidBot, which was one of the original chats, and just put in wherever you live, whatever city. So Benji or Emily put Los Angeles in, and then the bot answered. CupidBot answered, oh, I see, it's 59 degrees and mostly cloudy. So that's kind of fun. Wherever you are in the world or wherever you want to be, type in a city and see what CupidBot will say to you. Okay, and then just narrate us through the rest of this, Benji, as you go.
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, I mean, I just want to start. So what we were thinking is we get a lot of text surveys. So what we were trying to showcase with CupidBot is that there's a lot of different ways to ask a question. And for this one, we're using pictures, right? And this sort of ends up being more like an eye exam, sort of which is better, which you prefer. So it really just sort of, chatbots are really helpful in being able to, you can ask a straight survey or a quiz, or you can do a lot of fun and interesting media to get your point across.
So in this case, we invite you, do you want to be outside or inside in this weather? We are now Los Angelinos, and so 59 feels freezing, so I'm going to say inside. Chatbots can offer some empathy that they can't agree more, and then ask me a follow-up question, sort of, do I prefer to cook at home or head out to a restaurant? I'll head out to a restaurant. And then it's going to think for a bit. Thinking is a nice thing that sort of humanizes bots in some way. You can slow them down if need be. And so they've invented a great way to spend the night out on the town that might meet my interest, which is a spa day with brownies. We have a fun little GIF of a sleeping frog. And then you can also scroll left, right. You can create a bunch of these fun cards. And we wanted to give a shout out to our friends at Gifts for Good. They are a corporate gifting service whose all profits go to companies with social missions. So there's some great brownies that
Spreading the love.
That spread the love.
Yeah. Cool.
That's wonderful. You guys, give it up for Benji and Emily. Woohoo!
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Play with the CupidBot today. Have a wonderful Valentine's Day. We've gotten all of your questions, and we'll reply back to you. And Benji, and actually, there's Benji and Emily's contact information. We're going to have to close up now, but we always do a sort of a backstage. So we'll say goodbye for now, and we have some fun things for you already planned next month. But for today, enjoy thinking about chatbots, all that you can do. Please get back in touch with us. If you want to speak directly with Benji and Emily, they'd be happy to. And have a great day, and we'll be sending out your PDU certificates soon.